Today I'm going to be teaching you how to solve the Rubik's Cube using the Petrus method. So first I'm just going to do a quick overview of how the method works, then I'm going to go into detail on actually how to do the method. So the method starts by block building a 2x2x2 block. And we'll go more into block building in a minute, but basically you just start with a 2x2x2 block, and you expand that onto a 2x2x3 block, which means we add this block here. And that's usually quite easy. See here, there we go. And then we make a block here and expand that into a 2x2x3 block, like this. So this part is solved. And then what we do is we orient all the edges left in these last two layers. That's generally pretty easy. Let's see. Yes. Okay. And all of them are oriented. And then we'd solve this last block here using block building. And in this case, looks like I already have this, so I just have one pair left to solve for this slot. Okay, and then since we oriented all the edges left in these two layers, that means we are guaranteed going to have a cross shape on the top, on the last layer, because we had already oriented all the edges. And this is really nice for someone like me who hates memorizing a lot of algorithms, because instead of having, I think is 56 oral algorithms you need to memorize to get the full layer solved in one algorithm, you only need 7 for Petrus, which is really good. So then you'd orient all the corners, so the top layer is solved, and then you just do your PLL like normal. Okay, and now the cube is solved. That's how you solve the Rubik's Cube using the Petrus method. Obviously, I'm going to go into more detail right now. Okay, so now we can actually start, learning how to actually do the method. So obviously, first it starts with a 2x2x2 block. There are a couple ways to do it. If you're coming from a method like CFOB, where you're used to, building across and then putting in a pair, there's a way you can do it like that. You can just put 2 cross pieces in, and then, let's see, I don't really do it like this often, and then solve a pair and then put that in. You can do it like that, but if you're doing it like that, I'm just going to say there's really no point in using the method, because then you're just making the quill pot, the block building, like CFOB, which kind of sucks. So the real best way to do it, at least block building, using block building, is, there's more advanced ways of doing it, but you basically you can select one corner, okay, and that corner you're going to build your 2x2 around. So I know this corner, it's orange, white, and blue. I need a orange and blue edge, a white and blue edge, and then a orange and white edge. And all those need to go around the proper centers. So I can move them around the proper centers later. I just want to pair them up with 2 of the pieces, so I can, because if I have 3 of the pieces together like this, I can't actually move the whole thing, the whole block I built in one turn. I want to be able to do that. So I want to make 3 of the pieces together. How you do that is you basically put 2 of the pieces you need in one layer, so corner, edge, and then we pair them together like that. And then we'll do that for the white here. So let's see, white, that's over here. Move that into the top layer, and then attach those 2. So this is our first block, okay? And now, since we have this block done, we want to place the edge that corresponds to this block in the middle layer. So since we've solved the orange part of the block, we still need the white and blue part. So we need a white and blue edge to go right here, because we know the centers match up here. So all we need to finish our block is a white and blue edge here. Well, we can place that in by moving this out of the way, placing the edge in, then moving this back. Okay, and there really isn't a great way to explain how to make the 2x2. It's mostly just fidgeting around with the cube on your own, and just, keeping doing examples, doing it over and over again, to get a good way of doing the 2x2, because everyone block builds differently. But then you expand the 2x2 into a 2x2x3, which means you solve this block. So that's essentially the same thing as solving the first part of the 2x2x2. So we do that, and I know that the extension here is orange, white, and green, which is right here. So I'll move that up, and now I can do it the same way as the last. So I know this is orange and green, pair them up, orange and green, and then I know the corresponding edge is orange, green, and white, so this can match up to it. So now I have this pair of 4 pieces, and then I move it in. If this isn't making sense to you, and you want to see how I'd actually do it in a solve, I have a walkthrough solve at the end, which I'll show you. But now that we have a 2x2x3 done, we can move these sides freely. And this is where the method really shines, because basically one of the laws of the cube is if you do only R and U moves, the edges in the layers you're intersecting, which is R and U, they will never be twisted, or their orientation will never change. They can be moved, as for instance this edge could go here, but they will never be flipped according to their positions. So that means if we orient, but they won't stop flipped. So when you orient them, and then they will all be twisted correctly, so we can do any number of R and U moves, and the cube, the edges will still be correct. But we need to orient them first. So how we do that is we look for what's called a bad edge. And what that is it's basically an edge that isn't oriented correctly. And how we can tell is if the color is away from the center. So I know I'm supposed to have yellow edges here, that's obvious since it's the yellow side. This edge isn't flipped correctly because it's yellow and green, but the yellow is facing the wrong direction. This edge isn't flipped correctly, orange and yellow, but the yellow is facing wrong. This edge isn't flipped correctly, red and yellow, but the yellow is facing wrong. So these 3 edges are wrong. Okay, let's look for some others. Is this edge wrong? Well, if it's only wrong if I can solve it with, if I can't solve it with R and U moves. And it looks like if I do R2, this edge actually is oriented correctly. So this edge is good, but these 3 are bad. Let's look for some other bad edges. Looks like we have this one, because this one, it's orange, or it's green and red, but the red isn't matched up to the center. It's facing away. So by determining them like that, and we have this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge on. This edge isn't on because we know we can do a U2, and it matches there. So we have this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge that are on. And the simplest way to solve 2 round edges is to hold it like this, where you have your 2 round sides facing towards you. Okay? And now we want to place a round edge in one of these 2 positions. The top right or the top left. Now there's far better ways of doing this, but just to get you started, I'll teach you it like this. So in this position or in this position. I'll show you in this position first. So now since we have 1 round edge here, we don't want to just solve them one by one. That would be really slow. We want to solve 2 at once. So we want to put another round edge, this one for instance, in the bottom here. So now we have a round edge here and here. And how we flip these 2 without flipping any others is just really simple. It's like this. Bring the side that the top round edge is on down. Move the other round edge in. And then move the side you brought down up. Okay, and then that flipped those 2 edges. So now let's see how many we have left that need to be flipped. Well, looks like it's just these 2. These 2 need to be flipped. So let's move them into that same position. 1 needs to go here, then 1 needs to go here. Let's move 1 there. 1's there, and then 1 here. These 2. Let's flip them, bring the right down, move the front up, then bring the right up. And now all the edges are flipped correctly. So now I can do any number of R and U moves, but I will always have all the edges oriented, which is great. And now the next part of the method is to solve this last 1 by 2 by 3 block. So essentially this block here to complete the first two layers with only doing R and U moves, since if we do anything else it will misorient some of the edges in most cases. So the best way I can explain this to you is just to tell you to solve it like in kind of an F2L way, where you'd have one edge here and you place that in like your cross edge piece. This doesn't look right. You'd have one edge here and you place that in like your cross edge piece, and then you solve these last two pairs. Now as you get better with block building, you will learn that you can solve this last spot with block building. The more practice you get with these, you'll notice that you'll be able to do that. But to start, you just want to solve it like this. So now this edge is in, and I just have these two left. And remember, we can only do R and U moves to solve these last two slots. So remember that. If we do anything else, it will mess up the orientation of the edges. So no rotating, and no doing moves other than R and U. Okay? Got it. So that will make these two actually pretty quick. So I see this pair here. These can be paired up. And then it needs to be inserted in the back here. So I can move that back. And now this edge is here. And the slot is right here. Bring the slot up. Move the pair in. And bring the slot down. Okay. And now we have our last pair here. We separate them. And then insert them. And notice I only did R and U moves there, which is the really good thing about this method, because R and U moves are very fast, probably the fastest types of moves. And now, since we've solved the first two layers, we oriented all the edges left, we will always have a cross shape on top when we're solving the last layer, because we had already oriented all the edges, assuming, of course, we continued only with R and U moves, which hopefully you did. And now we just need to orient the corners, which is one of 7 algorithms that you would already know if you know OLL, which would be like this in my case. And then you would just do your PLL like normal, there's nothing different. And that's how you solve the Rubik's Cube using the Petrus method. So now I'm going to show you one last walkthrough solve of me doing it and the way I kind of think about it. Solving like quickly. Okay, so the goal you should be looking for when you're first starting to use the Petrus method is being able to see your full 2 by 2 by 2 block without even turning the cube. What I mean by that, or what's going to make that really easy, if you have a pre-made pair. So I have one here. So I'm going to move this, I know I can move this pair into this layer, and then it'd be matched up to the center. Also know the corresponding edge to this pair is right here, which I can also flip and put into this position, hide this, and then put the edge in. And then I know that this edge won't be moved, so I can move this edge into position and then solve the 2 by 2. That sounds a little bit confusing, and being able to kind of memorize your 2 by 2 in your inspection just comes with a little bit of practice, not all that much though, just a little, and you should be able to get it pretty quickly. But definitely don't limit your inspection time when you're first starting to learn the Petrus method, because it does take a lot of thinking before you actually start turning. So I like I said before, I move this pair up, and the biggest thing that's going to help you with the 2 by 2 is having a pre-made pair like I had here. Move the pair up, then this edge needs to be flipped, this edge needs to go here, and these two are together. And now I remember that I knew this edge was going to be here, so I need to move that into its position over here, and then align the two to make my 2 by 2. And now, next, the thing you'll want to focus on is only starting on the best next 1 by 2 by 2, or I guess 1 by 2 by 2. So there are actually 3 places you could do it. You could start here, here, and here. And we want to look at all of these and decide which one is the best. So I'm looking at them, and I think I'm going to do, let's see, I think I'm going to do this one here. Okay, just for example purposes. So I know that if I bring this corner up here, I could match these two up. Excuse me. But I can actually cancel move here by just not bringing it up and just moving the top layer around and then bringing it up. Just little efficiencies like that really make your solve faster. So now I have these two together. This is here, but that doesn't matter. So I have these two together, and now I want to find the last corresponding edge right here, and I will move that into position here. Well, it's not totally in position, but what I can do is I can move it in by just moving this pair away, and then bringing this edge up, and moving this back, and then that solves my 1 by 2 by 2. And then this can then be connected to my 2 by 2 by 2, like that. And now I have my 2 by 2 by 3. And now for orienting all the remaining edges, immediately I see that this edge, and this edge, and this edge, and this edge. So how I recognize those so quickly is it just comes with a little bit of practice. Of course, there are ways to do it, but in my opinion, the best way is to just keep looking at kind of the orientation of edges, and that will just come with using these two, and these two need to be twisted. So I know an efficient way to do this, well, not the most efficient, but for the purposes of the video, is perfectly fine, is move this edge down, and then these two are misoriented, so I can do them like that. And then my last two are here and here, which I can do like this. I can also execute the same thing from the left side, like this. And now all the edges are oriented. So I'm going to rotate here and solve this last block only using R and U moves. I'll place the edge in and solve the last pair, or the last two pairs. This is a pair. Move them together and then attach them. Put it in. And then this is these two. So I'll bring it up, and then these two can be brought together. And it might seem like there's some F2L cases or last two pairs cases where it's impossible to solve with only R and U moves. But it's actually not. You can, if you're really confused, you can just start spamming R and U, and you'll probably get some case you know. That's kind of inefficient, but if you just to learn that, that's a good way. So, and then we orient the last two corners, and then we permute the last layer, which is the same as any other solve. I hope you enjoyed the method. If you want some other Petrus walkthrough solves or other videos on the Petrus method, like the video and subscribe. So bye.